And welcome back to Jeff Koinange live here at Citizen Television on this Labor Day. On the bench today, the Cabinet Secretary for East African Community, Arid and Semi-Arid Lands and Regional Development, Penina Malonza. And right by her is the man in green, as in Dr. Isaac Kalua Green from Green Africa. He's an entrepreneur, he's an environmentalist, he's an expert on climate change, and he's wearing the green to back it all up. I love it. Doctor, welcome.
What's up, my buddy? You're cool. Nice to see you. Thank you for having us here.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Madam Secretary, I told you before the break, I was talking about the president ordering people who are living in lowlands to move to higher ground in 48 hours. Where are they going to go?
Well, they're going to go to the higher lands, and in the higher lands there are quite a number of people there. They could be their relatives, they could be just neighbors, but also we're looking forward where we cannot have them absorbed by the neighbors. We're looking forward to resettle them. So that is another opportunity.
Is that going to be possible?
Yeah, it can be possible.
Do you have the money? Do you have the budget?
No, we don't have the money. We are going to use the government facilities that we have. We may have probably within the same environment, we could have an hospital. We resettle them there. We could have a school. Of course, schools are coming back to their opening on Monday. And of course, I've seen that quite a number of parents are really asking for extension. Mm-hmm. So basically, we are going to use the government facilities that we have available within the regions where people will need to move. But basically, the first alternative that we're giving is that they be absorbed by their relatives, wherever they are, or even their neighbors.
Yeah. Dr. Kalua Green, real quick, what do you make of the situation you are seeing in Mai Mahio, in Homa Bay, in Moranga, and even on the Thika Superhighway? What do you make of it?
Allow me, first of all, to really convey my condolences to those who have lost their loved ones, those who have been affected in any little or big way by the floods, which are unprecedented, and to pray that God may comfort them, because it's a lot of stress that is unmatched, that this country cannot even ever fathom. But I see an opportunity for us to understand that what you can never do is to fight nature. I see this as the greatest opportunity, because in every crisis there lies an opportunity. The biggest one is what I have been saying, and when it is dry, it is now making sense when there is a crisis. What the president has been saying for many years, an environmentalist, it's now in reality, and we have no opportunity of not seeing what we must be able to do as a nation. I see an opportunity for us now to take the actual actions, because now in the crisis, all that can be done is to save lives. We are a country that has deteriorated to the point that we get alarmed when we lose 20 people. When one person is lost, it's not a big issue. And we need to go back to what we really need to be. Every life matters. Just like every big country that there is any part of the world, you lose one life, you can lose a presidency. And here, we only get alarmed when it is a crisis, when a truck has really killed so many people. We really need to get to that sanctity of life and get value of the Constitution that requires us to take care of everyone's life.
Absolutely. Madam CS, we talked about dams earlier on, right?
Yes.
And a lot of them are threatening to overflow. Your cabinet colleague, Kipchumba Murkomen, was here yesterday.
Yes.
And he talked about with these dams, especially in Tana River, they need to build like a high grand dam on top. I don't know how they're going to do that. How is it going to work?
Yeah, of course, it's true that we have to do a high ground force dam, and that is happening in Kitui. Of course, a dam that is extending all the way to Tana River, the Rakanithi, and Kitui. And basically, that is going to solve much of the waters that flows to Indian Ocean, and of course, the much water that is coming from Kitui, Tharaka, and also Meru, that is causing a lot of destruction in Tana Delta, because basically the water we're seeing in Garissa now and the water we're seeing in Erosion, Tana Delta is all coming from the higher lands of Meru, Kitui, Tharaka-Nithi, and basically building this dam is going to hold much of that water that runs to the ocean, and of course does a lot of destruction. So that is a project that the government is going to do, and of course they've sourced for funds, and it's something that is going to be, the president is going to break the ground probably in June. So that is a project that government is taking very seriously, and that is going to solve the problem of Garissa, the problem of Tana River, and the problem, and the problem of Kilifi. So
yeah, the other thing is Seven Forks Dam is also a problem right now.
Yeah,
it's overflowing and it's getting all the way to Tana River.
Yes.
What are we going to do about that? Because Seven Forks is used for electricity, right?
Yes,
generation.
Yes. Yeah.
What happens with that?
What happens with that is that basically that's why we are building the high ground force, and of course we're moving the people in Tana River. We've been giving alerts for them to move to the higher grounds, and I think we were, by last week I was with the governor, who is also doing quite a lot in terms of moving people out. And what the plan is that we're going to use our housing project so that we can work with the governor, who has already set apart some land so that we can do, and then they can use these lower grounds for farming. And I believe it's lesser pain when we lose crops than when we lose a life. Yeah.
Dr. Ari, I was telling the CS earlier on, there's a lot of critics out there saying the government has been very slow to respond. There are other organizations, humanitarian organizations, that were quick to respond, quicker than the government was. What are your thoughts?
Great. First of all, thank you for getting Madam CS
And
here.
she agreed.
And because that is the first greatest thing, that you're available to deal with this. And she's my buddy. We have a history. I have a lot of respect for her. She gets busy, of course, just like Wood. I would have loved to have this kind of a discussion maybe away from this session, but I have an opportunity to share some of the things that we need to do. We need to move from the reactionary kind of a point of action, because the crisis is here with us. I believe there is now a committee that's going to do tremendous work. She's capable of doing that. The only other thing is that we need to have those committees working throughout. Let's look at the main picture, Jeff. There are three things that we've been given by God. First one is the time that we live. Second one is the human beings and the mind and the capacity to deal with things that God has enabled us to do. And the third one is the land. The land that we have in Kenya is about 582,000 square kilometers. The people that we have had over time, which makes it very clear, and I'll give 6 scenarios that I can remember, that tends to show that we have had 6 leaders or 5 leaders leading totally different countries in the name of Kenya. The land cannot change. The time. I was born just the other day. I'm extremely old. You can imagine 1969. And that time the population was 10.9 million Kenyans. By the time President Kenyatta,
the second or the first?
The first, left leadership, we had 15.9 million Kenyans. By the time President Moi left power, we had 31 million Kenyans. By the time Mwai Kibaki left power, we had 44.4 million Kenyans. By the time Uhuru Kenyatta left the presidency, we had 55.6 million Kenyans. Today, President Ruto is leading a country of about 57 million Kenyans. There is no way you can say that those people were leaders of the same country. It was totally different, the demographics. If you were to host 8 people today, everything would change. You would have more cameras, you would have different facilities for parking, and that is the actual scenario. That we are trying to lead a country as if we are leading the same country. The more people lived in different places, wherever these people are living, the 57 million people, are living in spaces and they are actually displacing spaces for water. The amount of rain that we have here is not extremely too much. It has rained before. Yeah. But where is it going to be stored? Where is it going to be at, and what facilities are we creating for that purpose? We need to think out of the box, actually, as if there was no box ever existed.
Absolutely.
We're talking about time, we're talking about the land, we are talking about the people, and therefore the number of people. What actions need to be done? So let us move away from
do we need a mind change?
Total mind change. That is where I'm moving at right now, and working towards a bigger strategy that is going to take Kenya in the direction that we all need to be at. The leaders like Waziri, I'm glad she's got. There would be no better person to understand the problems of the region that is called. I will divide the country into two. We have very thirsty soils, and that I'm referring to the region that is lower eastern and the arid and semi-arid region. Lower regions because, and thirsty because there is a problem of the soils that they're shallow soils, they are not very healthy in terms of soil retention and so much. What action needs to be taken there? The priority needs to start moving into terracing. We need to create areas that water can settle and get into the soils, because the soils only taste water when it is passing by, going into the river. The location of the dams in this country, we need to start thinking, where shall we place them? Because of the wrong thinking, and it's nothing to do with President Ruto. It is everything to do with the way we think about the country as a nation and the people. So we end up creating political dams. The same water that you will need to create the dam upper of High Grand Falls and all that is the same water that you can do a dam in a place where there are no people. We have 80% of Kenyans living in and around the water towers. 80%. The question should be, why are they living there? It's because of one commodity called water. I did a research, I found out something in America where 1 inch of water, and I'm sure you're a reader of my articles.
Yes, indeed.
1 inch of water in an area of 1 acre equals to 10,000 liters. If you take the entire country, even as we deal with, because we are dealing with flooding here, not just water saving, but there are things, small things that lead to the bigger picture. If you just saved 1 inch of water across the country, you will have, based on the number of we have of 582, you will have 1.4 trillion liters of water. What is 1.4 trillion of water? It simply means you can do a 10,000 liter tank for every household that we have in Kenya. It means, because you and I need about 50 liters of water for our washing, for our drinking and everything, it means we would have enough water to drink, to deal with for 1.5 years. We need to go back to that kind of calculation that is very real.
Absolutely. And
then start taking the measures that we need to take, that is going to take to this country. Flooding is not strange. There are things that we must be able to do as I finish on this. In Mississippi, in other countries like Holland, Netherlands, the water channels are expanded with a room that allows the water flow to be correct. We go back to Mississippi, all they did where there were corners on the rivers, they cut them so that the water flows uninterrupted. That means, of course, there is nobody anywhere around the water space. When we call them to move right now, is a matter of crisis, and they got to move. It doesn't matter. But what are we doing after the rains subside?
That's a good question. In fact, on that point, I'm going to come back because, Madam CS, after the rains come the droughts. and you are in charge of arid and semi-arid lands.
Sure.
Are we prepared for that? Post-floods, because these will end at some point. What happens after that, like Dr. says? We're going to be talking about this. Is an interesting conversation, and we have to keep talking about this just so that we can let you know. And what are your thoughts? We want your thoughts as well. Send us tweets at Koinange Jeff, at Citizen TV Kenya. The hashtag is JKLIVE. We've got Dr. Isaac Kalua Green on the bench, and he's all greened up. And we've got the Cabinet Secretary for East African Community, Arid and Semi-Arid Lands and Regional Development, Penina Malonza. We'll take a break, come back, a little bit of news, continue the conversation. Jeff Koinange Live takes a break. We'll be back in a moment.